Hi, this is Jason Spangler. You're here with Cloth Talk 2.0. This is episode 7. Going to be talking tonight with my guest host, Hank Birdsong, about how to get other people involved in the hobby. And Hank, we have some ideas that we want to present. I'm going to throw it to you first and let you get started.
Okay, sounds good. Um, yeah, yeah, I hear a lot of folks wanting to know, how do I get started? And they'll look and see somebody else's collection, and just it seems overwhelming. Um, One thing I do is whenever I go to a fellowship, a fall fellowship, I will take, for instance, all my flap collection from Tsali, which is complete, and just lay it out and have something for people to look at. It gets people talking and gets them a little interested. Another thing I've done is to take sort of mini collections and put them in a frame to display them. Things like this. This is our backpack with all the different championship strips we've had over the years. It's one that there were a lot of extra of some of these, so it's an easy collection for folks to start off with, but show them sort of a mini collection. And then I've got another small collection that I put in a frame, put out. This is all from one year, from 1989. It was I think the 50th anniversary of Camp Daniel Boone. And it was funny because I found some of these. Well, I found them, and I'll talk about in the next episode how I found them. But I put out just a small collection like this, and just show people, what's out there, and sort of give them an idea of what they can do. Maybe start a flap collection, or maybe it's one of those other collections I just talked about. But what I do is these things are heavy. When it's full of all those frames, you can get one of these bad boys and put about 9 frames in it, and then take it and just lay them out. But it makes for a nice display, and it gets people talking, gets people interested. What's something that you do to get folks interested?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that comes up is knowledge. People want to know what's out there, like you said with your frames. And so something you and I have both been involved in is creating little books for our own lodges. And so I've got a copy here of a book that I did back in 2010. Needs some updating just to kind of catch it up, but this is a color book that I did. I did a little talk at a fellowship where I got up and talked about the lodge patches, lodge history, and then I actually had these made. I had a laser printer with plenty of toner, so I printed off probably, I think maybe I made like 100 books and just gave them out to everybody who was there at that event. I need to update this book, and I don't know that I would keep it in this format because it does take up a lot of room, a lot of space, and I probably could condense it down more. So this is kind of an idea here, making sort of a lodge patch book. And I've got a couple of other examples. I know you have an example you're going to show folks too, but other lodges have them. This is a really old one from Croatan, and it talks about East Carolina Council patches and also Croatan. This is actually from the 70s, so this idea is not new. Then some lodges have some pretty cool ones that they keep updated. This is one that David Goza wrote recently for Muscogee Lodge. This one's available even on Amazon. He has a copy of it for sale, but you can get it on eBay also. And it's just a great book. Tells you all about Muscogee patches, full color, everything in there. Looks good. And then one more, another lodge that kind of keeps this up and actually has like a committee, a history committee that does it, is Atta Kulla Kulla up in Greenville, South Carolina. I haven't had this one updated in a while, but if you flip in here, it's got all the explanations and the pictures of the patches and stuff. And so that, to me, that's like a real key thing. If you want to get someone started collecting stuff, it always helps to have a checklist. That's just human nature. If they have a checklist, they will collect it. But being able to educate themselves and kind of know what's out there and what to collect, I think that's a real key thing. And so a lot of lodges have those, but they're not always accessible. Maybe they're out of print, so that's something that needs to be worked on. Hank, why don't you show us what you've got?
Sure. What got me started on this, and we actually had pretty much a whole episode on this before, so I won't dwell too long on it. But I did mine sort of on the cheap. I remember when that Croatan book came out. That was back in the era when you had to have something typeset, and then you would have to paste pictures in, and then it was pretty tough to do. That was quite an effort they did. These days, I can sit on my computer, drop drop the images in pretty easily, and then make a thing for our lodge that has a little description, of each one. So pretty similar to some of those you had, but this was definitely something on the cheap that I could just do. Now, I have a printer that'll print two-sided, so this booklet format worked pretty well. Did one for my lodge, did one for SR5, did one for my old lodge, Waialbe Lodge. So it's something, and it's funny because I'll set these out at a fall fellowship and just put them on the table and say, anybody take one that you want, and it really gets a lot of folks started. They know what to collect, and then as they get into it, they can find, all right, which ones, are what value, and maybe we should do a show on that, do one on, how to find out what the value is of these things. But it doesn't have to be even that complicated. There was Dan Rogers, that was the scout, was the camp director at Camp Daniel Boone, started collecting Camp Daniel Boone. I think he and I probably were the only ones for a long time. Yeah, probably still are, actually. But he put together just this two-page sheet that has everything. He has it year by year, not complicated, but yeah, I've referred to this, but it can be just as simple as something like that to get folks started. You had another thought about getting folks started. Well, actually, I had one more. Well, you can come back to me though. I'll go to you, and then you come back to me.
Well, I'll just share an example. Recently at a lodge fellowship, I did a little patch class and had my stuff out, and I had an adult sit down at the table across from me, and it was a guy I knew that'd been in the lodge for a long time, never really showed any interest in patches, and he said, well, he basically said, why don't you educate me a little bit? Because I think with a lot of times with adults, they don't want to get ripped off. That's like with their, especially scouters who've been around for a long time and have a lot of patches that they've accumulated. They know some of them might be valuable, but they want to find out, they want to know that they're, not going to get ripped off. So I was kind of explaining to him what the different patches were and that sort of thing. So I think that's something that is, as more advanced collectors, we should always be trying to do, is share our knowledge, really like we're doing with this Cloth Talk 2.0 show, and just kind of be there to answer questions for people. So Hank, I'll throw it back to you and let you wrap us up on this episode.
Sure. When we're talking about helping others get started, it kind of reminded me of when my son Benjamin, he was about 10 years old, and I dragged him to the Waialbe, or the Old Hickory Council traderie that they have every year around Christmas time, and I gave him 3 patches. I can't remember where they were. There's probably one flap in there, but other patches. He came back at the end of the night, starting off with the 3 patches, with a bag, just a bag full of patches. And it was because people had been, kind to him. When he went up and said, "This is what I have," they didn't look at him and go, "Go away, kid. You don't have anything I want." They had dupes that they, just inexpensive dupes that they had that they could trade with him, and some folks just gave him stuff. But I see that happen at like Dixie and at other traderies. We have folks that are they're obviously big collectors, but they've got a little box of stuff that if somebody comes up and is obviously a beginner, just starting out, they have a box of stuff that they'll trade with them. So always have something that that you can trade, no matter what they come up with. If they come up with 3 patches and they're all community strips, have something that you don't mind trading to them, and it'll make their day, and you'll get somebody interested in the hobby, and next thing you know, they may have the biggest collection in the council. But anyway, so be kind to folks. Try to do things to help get encouraged. That's it.